Okay, so it's about the time. Let's start today's training about X3-ULTRA. So, hello everyone. Welcome again to Solec's new product introduction webinar. Um, so today's topic is about X3-ULTRA. It is a new energy storage inverter of Solex that aims at commercial and industrial fields to provide higher power output and more battery capacity. Comparing with our existing G4 inverters, the Ultra has superior performance and more advanced functions. So let's find out. Here are the main topics about today's webinar. We will have an overview about the Ultra and share some key features of it. Battery capacity is a very important part that many clients care about. Next, we will introduce some possible solutions that can be done with Ultra. Lastly, let's see what modes that the Ultra can work with. Generally, the X3-ULTRA is the three-phase hybrid inverter series designed for commercial and industrial use. It mainly has 5 models. Power ranges from 15 kilowatts to 30 kilowatts. Paired with Solec's own triple power batteries, it provides vast energy storage capacity, more economic to save electricity bills. Here is an exploded diagram of the Ultra inverter. With all these high-quality, top-ranked components, it ensures the stability operation of the inverter. For some large projects, the Ultra also provides the capability of parallel connection to expand the power output and battery storage even more. In maximum, the system can support 10 Ultra inverters parallel connection, providing 300 kilowatts power output. And by connecting HS or HR 3.6 batteries, it can expand to maximum 2.8 million kilowatt hour battery capacity. T58 battery is another choice when using Ultra. By 10 inverters parallel, with T58 battery, the total capacity can reach 928 kilowatt hour. The naming rule for Ultra is very simple. X3 stands for three-phase. Ultra is a series name. The number in the tail indicates the maximum power output of the unit. The most powerful inverter in this series is the 30K model. Especially, we have a 19.9 kilowatt model for Italy market because of the local allowance policy. As introduced before, Ultra is very suitable for commercial and industrial use. Here are some application scenarios like factories, shopping malls, large buildings, etc. with IP65 rating. It is also suitable for both indoor and outdoor applications. Next, let's have a look at the main features of Ultra. Here I summarize 6 main aspects. Firstly, on the PV input side, the Ultra supports 3 MPPT. each MPPT can connect 2 strings. So in total, 6 PV strings can be supported. Each MPPT can support 36 amps of DC input, compatible with most of the PV panels brands on the market. The inverter can support 200% PV oversizing and 200% PV input without any waste on PV energy. And different from G4, the Ultra equips with 2 battery ports, allowing 2 groups of batteries to be connected. The maximum battery capacity can be 2.8 million watt hours. On the EPS side, the Ultra can handle surge loads with a starting power of 2 times of inverter nominal power for 10 seconds. And a new work mode is introduced, TOU, which stands for time of use. It allows you to set different work modes for each hour in one day. By connecting to a data hub, the Ultra can achieve more AI functions like Smart Schedule and Smart Scene. We will introduce more details later. Now let's have some more details about the key features of Ultra. First of all, Ultra supports 32 amps of DC input. This makes it able to connect with most of the PV panel brands on the market. And no matter low power one or high power one, whatever the panel technology is, like Topcon, HJT, ETC, etc., they are all supported. With a maximum of 3 MPPTs, the Ultra can connect PV panels in 3 directions, which makes it more flexible when installing the PV panels. Even when one of the MPPT is failed, it won't affect the rest of the rest of the MPPT, so they can still work normally. This is another advantage over G4. So the Ultra can support 200% of PV oversizing and 200% of PV input, which means in best condition, all the oversized PV power can be used by the inverter without any waste. So here is a picture to explain it. Assuming 30 kilowatt Ultra connects with 60 kilowatts of PV panels. So now we have 200% oversizing. So in this case, the maximum output of 30 kilowatts can be exported to the loads here. And the rest of the 30 kilowatts can be used to charge the batteries. So there's totally no waste at all. But for the G4 hybrid inverters, the oversizing is 200%, and the PV input is 150%, which means 50% of the oversizing will be wasted. To cope with industrial scenarios, we designed 2 battery ports on Ultra. It can connect a double capacity of batteries in comparison with G4. By connecting HR or HS batteries, it can maximum support 93.6 kWh with 2 parallel boxes. It can be expanded to 280.8 kWh. You can also choose T58 batteries, and the maximum capacity can be 92.8 kWh with 2 parallel boxes. More importantly, the 2 battery ports can be combined together with a connector, as a right-hand side picture, to provide as much as 60 amps charging and discharging current. And currently, this kind of connection only supports HS and HR batteries. And we are also developing a new high capacity battery to be used especially in this way. The Ultra can also support 3-phase unbalanced output function to provide a net zero injection solution. The maximum unbalanced power for each phase is 1/3 of the maximum output power of an inverter. For example, the unbalanced power output for a 15 kilowatt Ultra is 5 kilowatts, and 7.6 kilowatts or 20 kilowatts model, yeah, and 10 kilowatts for 30 kilowatts inverter, etc. So on the right hand side, there is a comparison diagram for with and without 3-phase unbalance function. For example, a 30 kilowatt Ultra inverter with unbalanced function disabled. So you will see 4 kilowatt output on each phase. So to power a 12 kilowatt load on the first phase, it needs to import extra 8 kilowatts from the grid. So when unbalancing function is enabled, the inverter can output 10 kilowatts on the first phase and leave the other 2 phases 0 watt. In this case, only need to import 2 kilowatt from the grid to power the 12 kilowatt load, and meanwhile ensures 0 watt export on all 3 phases. So you see on the left hand side, the balance function. If the 3 phases are balanced, you will still see 8 kilowatts to the grid and 8 kilowatts from the grid. So this is a concept of zero injection for the balanced condition. But for the unbalanced condition, you will see a totally zero. And the EPS function is also implemented in Ultra series. So with less than 10 millisecond switch time, it provides seamless powering when the grid is off. Additionally, the EPS port supports a surge power of 2 times of the inverter's nominal output power for 10 seconds. making it easily to handle those surge loads. So for example, if there's a 15 kilowatt inverter, and if I have a 10 kilowatt electrical appliances with 30 kilowatts starting power, then this can be supported in the 15 kilowatt inverter. So 2 times of EPS overload is 30 kilowatts. So it just met with the starting power of this appliances. Another improvement is that half-wave loads are now supported. So half-wave loads are those electrical appliances that only uses the positive half of the sine wave, like hair dryers, electrical fans, LED lights, etc. Previously, by applying these loads, it will cause instability to the system and may damage the components of the inverter. And now we can say that the new Ultra inverters can support all kinds of loads, no matter it is capacitive load, inductive load, surge load, half-wave load. These can all be supported. Microgrid is also supported in Ultra. That is to connect the on-grid inverter to the EPS port of the Ultra, so that when the grid is off, the on-grid inverter can still work and produce PV power, not to waste this part of yield in off-grid status. The on-grid inverter in the system can either be Solex or other brands. Uh, 724 time of use is another new working mode that we added. It allows users to set different working modes for different hours in one day. For example, in low tariff period, set the inverter to charge mode, and in high tariff period, set the battery to discharge to the grid to maximize the profit. And we will introduce more details in the following slides. And now we are developing the wireless meter solution. And after some final tests, we will release this solution soon. With the wireless metering solution, there's no need of ICE485 cabling between the inverter and the meter, saving cabling cost and reducing potential mistakes. When connecting to the adapter box and EV charger, it can realize smart load management on heat pumps and EV chargers. And when connecting to a data hub, the X3-ULTRA can also realize more smart functions. Smart schedule is one of them. It predicts the power generation of the next days based on AI algorithm, weather forecast, etc., and can automatically adjust the charging and discharging strategy of the inverter to maximize the energy efficiency. Smart Scene is another AI function that can be realized by Data Hub. So you can set a series of if conditions and set the following then actions when the if conditions are met. For example, I can set the condition to be if the time is 2 a.m. and weather forecast says there will be a rain in the next 8 hours, then I can set the action to be charge the battery to 100% when the two conditions are met. On the safety side, AFCI will be optional for this new energy storage inverter, which is not possible on G4. Also, built-in Type 2 SPD ensures safety in lightning strikes. The VPP stands for Virtual Power Plant. It provides the cloud integration possibility with third-party platforms. So we provide API 2030.5, OpenADR, these integration functions. EV charger is also supported just like G4 does. So we can either connect the EV charger directly as a home load, or we can build a communication between the EV charger and the Ultra to achieve more smart control functions. Now let's talk about batteries. The Ultra supports 3 kinds of batteries currently: the HS, HR, and T58. Please note, T30 is not supported on Ultra. HS and HR batteries are quite similar, so here we put them together. For a single Ultra inverter, when connecting with 2 parallel boxes, which is TB-P box, it can connect 6 groups, 78 battery modules, and each group can connect a maximum of 13 modules. Note, this P box will come out soon. For T58 batteries with 2 BMS parallel box G2, a maximum 4 groups of 16 battery modules can be connected. Let's check the capacity side. For HS25, 6 groups, 78 modules can realize 195 kilowatt hour. And with HS36, the number can reach 280.8 kilowatt hour. HR battery capacity is the same with HS battery, just the installation ways difference. The HR is the rack mounting, and for the HS, it's just like a stack mounting. For T58, the max capacity can reach 92.8 kilowatt hour. So we can see HS, HR batteries are more compact and can build a larger capacity battery system. For monitoring platform, we have cloud, web, and app to satisfy different customers' needs. 10 seconds data refresh is supported on the software if a special dongle is connected. Next, let's check some solutions can be done with Ultra. It is mainly divided into the following parts: the residential solution, parallel solution, generator, off-grid, etc. First of all, the most common solution for residential, which is the partial load connection. So we separate the home load to EPS loads and common loads. Connect the EPS load to the EPS port of the inverter. And when the grid is lost, only the EPS loads can be powered by the batteries. And these common loads will not be powered in this condition. The switch time is less than 10 milliseconds, so it is basically senseless. And you can also connect all the home loads to the EPS port of the Ultra to make a whole house backup solution. Because the Ultra has a larger power output capability, and normally the home loads will not be for a house. All the load power for a house will not be that high. So just make sure that the load power does not exceed the EPS output power. If the client needs more power output, the Ultra can support parallel function to combine a multiple of inverters together to provide higher output. By default, you can parallel connect up to 3 Ultra together without any additional devices, giving a maximum of 90 kilowatt power output. By using a parallel box, up to 5 Ultra can be parallel connected. In this case, you can connect all the home loads to the EPS parallel box. And we are also developing the EPS parallel box G2. With G2, you can parallel connect a maximum of 10 Ultra together, providing 300 kilowatt power output. Please note, when you do parallel solution, you need to keep the inverter models to be the same, and the power output of each inverter model should also be the same. And the battery number, the battery models connecting to each inverter should also be the same. And 1 meter will be needed to connect to the master inverter to make the power control. Generator can be used to provide emergency power supply. In this solution, when the grid is failed, the ATS will switch to generator automatically, and generator plays the role of the grid afterwards. By connecting the generator with Ultra with a pair of dry contact, the inverter can control the on-off of the generator by battery SOC level so as to save the fuel. The system, the generator system can also work in the sites without grid connection completely, giving the probability of uninterrupted power supply. A microgrid is a function that we talked about a few minutes ago. It allows the revamping of existing PV inverter sites to have battery storage by connecting the on-grid inverters to the EPS port of the Ultra. The on-grid inverter can still work when the grid is failed, so as not to waste the PV generation during off-grid period. And please note, there are 2 meters or 2 CTs required in this solution. So one CT is clamping to the grid side, and one CT is clamped on the on-grid inverter side. And both of the metering devices are joined together and finally connect to the Ultra. The last solution is about the mixed use of Solac's on-grid and Ultra inverters. In some projects, it requires the whole system to have general control and zero injection, then a data hub, then with a data hub, these can all be accomplished. And lastly, the work modes of Ultra. Here is a list with all the working modes of Ultra inverters: self-use, feeding priority, backup, etc. For different scenarios, I'll give a brief introduction of each mode. Firstly, the self-use mode. This is the most common mode that is used. The PV generation will firstly to be used for the loads. If loads are all powered, then the excess power will be used to charge the batteries. If battery is also full, the power will be output to the grid. The feeding priority mode is suitable for areas with high feed-in tariff, where the government encourages PV sites to generate power for the grid. So the PV power will firstly power the loads. If there is excess power, it will then output to the grid instead of charging to the battery. And when the feed-in power reaches a limit, then the excess power can be used for battery charging. Backup mode is similar to self-use. It just have 30% of battery SOC for EPS use. The value for self-use is 10%. So this mode is suitable for areas with frequent power outages. Peak shaving mode can divide a whole day into 4 periods. And during peak period, it can limit not to take too much power from the grid. The excess part will be supplied by the battery. A manual mode, just as its name implies, you can manually control the behavior of the battery, like charging, discharging, and stop the behavior. And lastly, the time of use, also known as schedule mode. It is a new work mode implemented in the inverters. it allows users to set different work modes for different hours in a day. Then you can repeat that by weeks. And basically, you can select from the following work modes: self-use, battery off, peak shaving, charging and discharging mode. This is flexible and more economic for some clients who wants to, for example, in the morning discharge the battery to the grid to earn money, and in the afternoon use self-use mode to cover the consumption of the house. Then there's no need to change the work mode every time. Okay, so this is all about what I want to introduce about Ultra. Now let's check whether you have any questions.